Hi everyone, my name is Akil and I'll be talking about remote repos and pull requests. So first of all, let's go ahead and review a typical one-person workflow like we used in the previous projects. Typically what you'd do when you wanted to add something or make a code change is you'd create a new branch from master, you'd make whatever changes you wanted and test those changes, and then when you were done, you'd merge all that back into master. Now this works fine for one person, but it can cause serious issues if you're working with a team. Some questions you might have in a team are, what if someone else has made changes to master before you got on? What if you and someone else are modifying the same code? How can you safely merge things back into master without breaking anything? In general, a team can pose several challenges that you don't run into when you're working by yourself, like how can the team code together without breaking everything, and how can the team work together effectively while taking advantage of the fact that there's multiple people? The answer? Remote repos and pull requests. So first of all, remote repos are something we used in the other projects, but not to their full extent. A remote repo, if you don't know, is a normal repository which contains files, branches, codes, etc. that's hosted on something like Github. You can have multiple local repos connected to a single shared remote repo, which allows multiple people to easily work on the same project. Remote repos contain a really cool feature called remote branches, and just like how a remote repo tracks and stores the work done on local repos, remote branches track individual local branches. So some examples of this are, you might have a remote development branch set up to track a local branch that you push changes to and keep track of your work. And also there's the remote master branch, which should hopefully contain the latest stable version of your project that local master branches can update from. So now let's see that in action. So we're going to hop into Cloud9 and GitHub just to see how remote branches work. So I'm here in my GitHub where, as you can see, I've created this fake project, just has a couple of files in it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clone this repo into my Cloud9 using git clone. And I'm going to go ahead and cd into it. Now, in here, you can see that these files are all there, and there's a couple of empty files. Now, I'm going to go ahead and check out a branch just like you would normally. And we'll call it test feature. So now we're on this new branch, and I'm just going to start making some code changes. So maybe I'll add in a hello world function. Let's go ahead and test it. And it seems to work. Okay, now I'll go ahead and commit just like you would normally. There we go. And now this is where the remote branch comes in. Where what I'm going to do is I'm going to type git push, but you'll see that it doesn't work. And that's because we don't currently have a remote branch set up to track this branch. So you can type in this command, or instead of doing set upstream, you can also just do -u, and this will actually create a remote branch for you and set everything up so that this local branch tracks the remote branch. And there we go. So now we've pushed, and if we go back into GitHub, we can see, if we refresh the page, that under master we now also have this test feature branch. So let's go ahead and see if our changes are there. So this is under the master branch. Go ahead and do test feature, and there we go, it's right there. So now, if I make another code change, again, always test. Yep, that seems to work. So I'm going to go ahead and commit that. Now I just have to type git push. I don't have to worry about the other switches or anything. I just type git push, and it works just like that. And if I hop on over to GitHub, you can see that, bam, my changes are right there. And this is how you can utilize remote branches to keep track of any changes on your local branch. And I want you to notice that this is actually a completely separate branch. This is not the master branch, and so this makes sure that the master branch stays nice and clean while you do development on a separate branch. That's how remote branches work. Now that we've seen remote branches in action, you might be asking yourself, how do we actually merge these in? For example, when you're done developing a feature and you've pushed to a remote branch, How do you actually get that into master so everyone else can use it? The other thing is, how can you easily let your teammates know that you're about to modify master and you're adding in a new feature? The answer to this is pull requests. So the best way I think to explain pull requests is just by showing them to you. So let's go ahead and hop back into Cloud9 and GitHub and go ahead and see how pull requests actually work. So for this demo on pull requests, I'm back here on GitHub in my test projects repo. So this is just a sample repo with a couple of files in it, and I already have it cloned into my Cloud9. So now let's say I want to make some changes. The first thing that I'm going to do is do git pull. Now what git pull does is it'll update your local master from the remote. So if your teammates have been making any changes to master, then git pull will make sure that all of those changes get pulled into your local master. Here, obviously, there's no changes, so it says already up to date, but this is something that you should always do whenever you're ready to create a new branch. Now that we've done git pull, we're going to go ahead and check out a new branch just like you would normally, and I'll call it new feature. So I'm on my new branch. I'll go ahead and just make some simple changes. So I'll make a hello world function maybe, just like I did in the other demo. And sure, we'll just do that. Let's go ahead and test our file, make sure it runs. And it does, but we never called the function. This is why you always want to test. And there we go, it works as expected. So now I'm going to go ahead and commit this change. So we'll say new change. And there we go, it's committed. And now I'm going to go ahead and push it to a remote branch. And again, if you don't know what this is, take a look at the remote branches demo from a little earlier. So there we go. Now we should have a remote branch, and if we come into GitHub, we should see that this new feature branch shows up. And if we go into that file, yep, there we go. Our changes are all there. So now that's great and all, but how do we actually get this into master? Now normally what you'd do is you do git checkout master on your Cloud9, and then do a git merge. But this is not what you want to do in this pull request workflow. Instead, we're actually going to go over to GitHub and merge this remote branch into the remote master. So how do we do that? As you can see up top, there's a little button here that says pull requests. So we'll click that, and we'll click on new pull request. Now what this will do is it'll give us two options. It'll give us a branch that we want to merge into, as well as a branch to merge. So in our case, I'm going to select new feature into master, and that's what the arrow indicates, that we're going to merge a new feature into master. So I'm going to go ahead and create that pull request, give it a name, and obviously for your real project, make sure you're giving it a descriptive name, and go ahead and create that pull request. Now at this point, you'll end up in this screen, and in fact, this is something that anyone on your team can see. So if anyone on your team goes to this pull request menu now you can see an open pull request that we just created. So they can click on this, anyone can come on this and leave comments, for example, give you feedback. And in general, this is something that allows your entire team to be up to date with whatever changes you've made. Your team and yourself can see whatever commits you've made, but the most important part is right here in Files Changed. In Files Changed, you can see a list of all the changes that have been made in this branch as compared to your branch that you're merging into. As you can see, we deleted the print hello world from master, and we added in this hello world function as well as the function call. And in here, your teammates can come in and review changes. So you can maybe add in a comment. Maybe I want to add in a comment. Obviously, you can leave feedback for your peers, and if there's something wrong, you can let them know. Then I'll go ahead and click Finish Review. And there we go. So now again, it shows up in this main screen right here that I've just reviewed something, in this case my own work, but this would obviously be your teammates if you were doing this for real, like in Project 3. And this allows you to make sure that everything is clean and everything is well reviewed. Once you're satisfied and someone has reviewed and you're ready to merge, then you can do merge pull request. So I'll go ahead and click this now. And again, so you can probably just leave this as is and do confirm merge. And there we go. So now you can see that this changes to merged. So you can see this pops up and it says that I merged that commit into master now. And now if we go back into code, we'll see on our master, if we go into that file, there we go. These changes are now in master. So now if we go back into Cloud9 and we do a git pull, just like we did before, there we go. All of these changes get pulled, and now anytime one of your teammates does a git pull on master, these changes will reflect in their master. So this is how you use pull requests to merge changes into master. You should never be merging to master directly or locally. You should always be using pull requests to make sure that your code stays nice and clean. Now that we've seen pull requests in action, let me tell you about some of their benefits. Pull requests allow teammates to know about and review changes before they go into master. They also allow everyone to be on the same page about what code changes are currently being implemented on the project. Also, they keep the master branch generally clean and stable, and they make sure that the quality of the code is high by making sure that all changes going into master are seen by multiple people. If you've never used the pull request workflow before, here's a couple tips I have for you. 1. You never ever want to modify the master branch directly. The remote master should only be updated through pull requests like we saw before, and this is to make sure that it stays nice and clean and that all changes are reviewed. And the local master should then pull from the remote master. Other than this, the master branches should never change. So for example, you should never be committing to master, you should never merge directly into master locally, none of that. You should only modify master through pull requests and git pull. The other thing is, you always want to pull the latest remote master using git pull before checking out a new branch. If you don't do this, you could end up with an older version of master, and this could cause merge conflicts later on, so you really want to call git pull before checking out a new branch. Finally, make sure that there is only one person using a branch at a time. You really don't want two people working on the same branch because that can cause all sorts of problems. In general, you don't want to touch other people's branches unless you're reviewing their work. Finally, let's go over some key takeaways. Remote repos allow multiple people to work together on a project and they maintain a backup of your code. Pull requests are one of the most important features of remote repos and they allow for safe, reliable merging of code. When these things are used properly, these tools allow for efficient and high-quality development by a team, and they're used all over the place in the industry for this reason. Thanks for watching.